Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have in studio with us Liz Salas. Hey, Liz!
Hello.
Liz and I went to high school together, and somehow 10 years later, we just bumped into each other because I decided to message her on Facebook.
We went to York together.
Yeah, but we were in the same high school.
Yeah.
Okay, you're so funny. We went to York together. We didn't go to York together. We took one course together.
We took one course together.
Yeah, it was one course, but you're still always ahead of me. You're hilarious. I don't know. I think I was in my second year because I had to redo science. So that's why we saw each other, because I was in summer school. I remember you and your meticulous regimen there, like when you were training at York's gym. I forgot the name of the gym, but you were
Steve Mackenzie.
Yeah. So you're on your treadmill doing your 30 minutes, whatever you're doing that day. Yeah.
I don't remember what I did. I probably did a lot of things. But out of those workouts, too many of them.
Yeah, too many, right? I mean, when we think about being an athlete, I just remember hating my coach in high school, Miss Byam. I still love you, Miss Byam. Making me run stairs. Like she made us run stairs. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hated running those stairs, but I mean, it helps you build the stamina because soccer is a lot of running. And I remember times where I'm like, can you just take me off? Like, I'm tired.
It was so awesome.
Thanks.
I really liked her.
She was so good. She's awesome. She's still awesome now. Yeah, she's not teaching anymore, but she's a good coach for sure.
Yeah.
Kudos to her. So for those who do not know you, Madame, tell us, what do you do for a living?
I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I'm a mom. And yes, my son spends a lot of time with daddy. So that I can work. And what I'm doing right now, I'm a founder of Kinetica, which is a biomechanics hub that provides education resources for coaches and athletes so they reduce the risk of injuries. So I'm trying to educate a lot of people about the right motor or the right movement strategies so that they don't get injured. And I also offer biomechanical analyses. So, yeah.
Sounds really technical. For those of us who don't understand what you just said, can you do that in simpler terms, please?
In simpler terms, yeah. I analyze movement. I figure out what are the forces that may injure you. I help people find, let's say, if you are, for athletes, obviously, if you're a volleyball player and you know that your shoulder's hurting, then I'll look at your arm swing and then I'll be like, okay, maybe you can change this. And then I may just suggest a couple of exercises so that you can change that strategy. And then I give you feedback as to how you're supposed to change your movement so that you reduce the stress on your shoulder.
This sounds like another conversation in itself just to dissect that. I mean, for any athlete listening to this podcast. So we're talking today about the relationship you have with yourself and your coach as an athlete. Liz knows a lot about volleyball, and she obviously went to school for kinesiology.
Kinesiology, yeah. I did my master's and my PhD in biomechanics.
Yeah.
And ergonomics. So
you are talented in that arena. Like, you know your stuff. So when people question you, you're like, well, excuse me, I did the time. I spent 4 years doing my undergrad, did another 2 years with my master's, and how many years to do your PhD?
It took me 7. I had my son in between. So it took me 7 years for my PhD.
My gosh. You're a doctor of biomechanics. That's crazy. Like, yeah, that's a lot of time in school. Like,
it's the passion though.
Yeah. Well, it makes it easier when it's a passion, right? So very, very interesting. So tell us about your life in Mexico and what got you into volleyball.
Wow, my life in Mexico, that's like tracing really back. Okay.
Well, this is what makes you who you are. There wouldn't be a Liz without like the ground roots, without the roots, right?
Without the Mexican flag in my forehead. Okay, so yeah.
Waving her flag, like Shakira.
Yeah. Okay, so I was in Mexico. I lived in Mexico. I was a teenager. When I was in high school, I remember I came because I used to party a little bit too much, and my mom put me in a boarding school. So I was really upset about this. Okay, I was really upset. So then I ended up in this, it was a Mormon high school, and I felt I was being trapped. And anyways, obviously in Mexico, I'm really tall. I'm like 6'2". So that's really tall for a Mexican. So obviously the volleyball coach saw me right away, and he called me. Of course, the basketball coach also called me right away they're like, oh, we want this kid to be on our team. I went to both. I didn't know how to play volleyball. I knew how to play basketball. So, but I just, I decided to go to practices for both teams because I thought that I was going to play basketball, but then I just absolutely fell in love with volleyball. Just like that feeling of the touch of the ball when you're spiking, the fact that there's no physical contact in volleyball, it kind of won me over basketball because I've always been very skinny. So I just, fly away. So then I was like, okay, I want to play volleyball. And my coach spent a lot of time with me because, he always thought, oh, well, she's got lots of talent. He worked with me even after hours, teaching me how to spike, teaching me how, a technique on how to pass. And I was 15 at the time. And I think for me, it was an outlet because I was very upset about the fact that I was, locked in this school. And it was like a total outlet, right? So at that time, I think I really I was very appreciative of the time with my coach, that he actually took the extra time always to teach me. So he was, very helpful in that sense. And then shortly after, I was called to play for the team from Mexico City. It was probably a year in after I started playing that I was invited to play. And so I decided to accept. And then I went and I was playing in 2 teams at the same time. So it was pretty intense, from that perspective. And I played until I was about, I think, 17. And then I was invited to play for the junior national team. And I practiced for a little bit, but then my mom refused to let me go and travel everywhere because at that moment she immigrated into Canada and I was by myself in Mexico, but I was in the school, right? And my mom's like, no, I don't want you to go traveling alone. I don't even know these people. And she was just kind of all apprehensive about it. So I didn't go. I just practiced with them, but I didn't get any permission. So by the time I turned 18, I moved to Canada. And all of a sudden there was, no volleyball in my life. And I was just so sad about that. I didn't speak the language. So it was very difficult for me to come and find a team, just even understand how volleyball worked in the country. I didn't have any, money, no friends, no language. So it was just a tough time for me. And I think I was off volleyball for about probably 2 years, maybe, or a year and a bit. And then somehow I ended up in high school with Miss V. And Miss V made it all happen all over again, So she took the time, and I still remember she took the time to take me on to, visit other colleges, talk to other coaches. For some reason, I played in a couple of clubs, but I never stayed in any place, just because I didn't have a car at the time. My parents didn't have a car, I was just pretty much on my own. I didn't have the money to pay club teams. So I was everybody would want me and invite me and then I'll go over. But then I remember going to 16th, 16th Avenue, up north. And I would catch on rides and, as I could, I was just kind of playing as I could. Right. So anyway, fast forward to York. I ended up, finally I enrolled in a couple of teams and stuff. And then shortly after I started playing for York University. And then from there on, I started moving on, and like during my time in university, then I got called to play for the Mexican national team. And that's when everything started happening. So in reality, none of my volleyball was when I was younger, but like I started playing already a little bit older. And then because I don't know, like I think I've found like a lot of hurdles. If it wasn't for some coaches that stopped for me to care and to, kind of like put those means for me to actually go and participate, like I don't think I would have done what I did, So that's sort of like my path. I played for the senior national team. We qualified for the World Cup when I was there. So it was just an amazing experience. And then after that, I went through a couple of injuries and had to retire from indoor. My body couldn't take it anymore. And then I switched on to beach volleyball. And then I practiced with the Canadian beach volleyball team with Steve Anderson. He invited me to play, and it was great, but I was doing my PhD at the time. And I actually played until I was really old. I played until after I had my son, I think up until like 34 or something like that, or 35. So yeah, I'm 41.
Yeah, so you just went full speed ahead there, but it looks like the relationships you had with your coaches kind of like led the way to your career in volleyball, but we're going to talk about that more. I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have with us in studio Liz. She is, I don't know what you call yourself, because it's like professional volleyball player, and obviously you're not playing so much at the professional level anymore, are you? Like, I mean, it sounds like
No.
your business has now, and your family life has kind of put that like on hold, and it seems like you play volleyball now for fun.
I still play every now and then. I probably I may be able to win one or two OVA tournaments, but then that's it. Like,
what's the lifespan of a volleyball player for, you know what I mean? Like for me, I danced for 10 years. I could have been a professional dancer. I didn't go the full way. Like my dance teacher was like, Carlene, you could be a dancer. And then I was like, I don't want to be a dance major at York. I don't want to make this into a career. It was just fun for me to do for 10 years. And like, when you think about it, takes you 10 years to be an expert at pretty much anything. So obviously I did it from when I was 10 till I started the first year at York, right? So for you, does it depend on your body? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, there are many factors that influence, right? Like obviously time management is one of them. Like there are many people who quit when they start university, because, oh no, I can't do both, right? Like that wasn't the case for me. I was really good at managing my time, and it didn't really interfere with my studies. So I went ahead, and even belonging to more than one team, and I was fine with that. I even got married. I had a kid. I continued to play, and I was married for a long time before I had my kid. I was 33 at the time when I had my boy. But, like life does take over once you're trying to get into something. And my career path has been, like I realized at some point towards the end of my PhD that I wanted to do something a little bit more practical and more in touch with the real world rather than just the academic world. And I had to get very creative, and that has been very time consuming, because I still have the passion for volleyball. I love the community. I love being around. I love watching volleyball. I love studying volleyball, but I can't obviously like do both at the same time, right? Like, and then also like the body is not going to last you forever.
Well, the thing is, like for me, I'm a volleyball addict too. And I think I've become more into volleyball in the last 4 years. And, for me, I started much later than you. I didn't excel in high school with volleyball. I was a sub. And so it wasn't until I started playing in North York at a community center that I started from the ground up. And then I just got into the community, and I met other people that were into beach volleyball. And so I think my passion has become more beach volleyball, but I will always still love indoor because there's certain things that you can do in indoor that you really can't do on the beach. I don't care what anybody says. The certain techniques that I like to do in indoor, like, bounce the ball a few times before I go up and serve. You can't really do that beach. It's like in beach, you're on the sand. So we have to figure out our form has to be perfect. And over the years, I've struggled with that, but I'm like, yeah, it's a different community. Like you said, like when I go to the beach, I feel like I'm part of the community because I've built that relationship with the athletes. And so I can relate with you with that because it's like, oh my God, I feel like a mini celebrity here. Like so many people know me, but yeah, I mean, when you've been going for so many years, that's pretty much what happens, right?
Yeah, I know. Like me, I think I'm one of the oldest athletes who still competes in the OVI, like from when I played. I've seen generations coming and going, and I always find the familiar faces, and it's just so great, right? Like to just go in, and probably everybody thinks that I'm the grandma by now, because I've been there for so long, and they're like, and every year I still get, you're still playing? And I'm like, like, I'm not going to say that I am full on playing and training and everything and competing to win at this point, but I'm still, keeping myself, entertained. I enjoy the good level of play, but I still get, a decent kind of level of ball. And I'm like, okay,
You sound like a volleyball snob right now. Can I actually say that? Sorry. Because I'm a snob when it comes to the movie. I'm a movie snob. So like I only go to certain movie theaters.
A little bit.
Yeah, because like usually some people could just go down to Woodbine and then just find a game.
Yeah, they'll play pickup. Yeah. I don't go and play pickup with anyone. I'm like very peculiar. As in like, okay, like, and I've gone with people who are like friends and play with them, and I'm just like, no, I can't play with you. And then I just move on. And then there are some other people who are like, who I became friends with because I've played with them for so long. And then it just feels right on the court, right? Like it's just, I don't know. I think.
No, but you're right, though. You do, like when you're playing twos, just to explain to those who are not into volleyball, on the beach, it's usually twos unless you're starting off and you haven't played beach before. It's good to play fours. That way you're not trying to run for the ball so much, especially in the beginning, because twos is a pretty good workout, if you ask me. There's a lot of ground to cover there, right? It's not like even an indoor.
See, I don't even like other formats that is not twos on the beach.
That's what I mean.
Like I won't play fours. I think it's too crowded. It's too crowded.
That said, I started off and I had to play fours because I tried to play twos too soon. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't even, my stamina is not of a twos player. So I feel like some people need to gradually work your way into it. And now, like you said, when I go, I prefer to play twos. When I play fours, I'm like, yeah, when's the next game? I think I'm done, So, but, yeah.
It's like, I mean, like, playing competitively is a lot of fun. And you do develop a few meaningful relationships, I guess, like around like, the players. You get to know a lot of them because usually like you play with a couple of them. It's not, unless you're in a, in a program, like since you're young and then you're like stuck with the one partner because coaches or whatever, then it may be like a longer term relationship. But like, even like that, like sometimes they change year after year, so it's like you get to know a lot of the players. It's kind of like you're in different teams, right? And then sometimes you develop a really good relationship with your partner. Sometimes you don't necessarily, but you still have to click on the court. So it's just kind of like, it is what it is. I've had both, in my life, but I feel like what I love about beach is that it's you and your partner, and the two of you have to kind of like figure it out on the court all the time, whether you like each other or you don't. You need to work together, and that's all that it comes down to. And whenever you're playing, let's say indoor, you can be like, in indoor it's a little bit different because there are more players. If you don't like somebody, you can kind of like you've seen it, that like, there are the cliques. And then if you're in like younger categories, a lot of times like, the coach is being a babysitter who's like trying to kind of like, help out, brush all those differences in between players. So I don't know. I think it's just like different kind of mechanics in there, but.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot in volleyball. And I think you just mentioned clicks, which is something that I think people don't really understand with any organized sport or with anything to begin with. There's clicks in dance too. And that's the one thing I didn't like as a dancer is how cliquey they are. And if you weren't a part of the clique and you're the new girl, they kind of make you feel like you don't belong. So for me, when I took dance courses at York, it was, how come you're here? I'm like, well, I've been dancing for 10 years, even though I'm not a dance major. It's like you have to defend yourself. Until they actually saw me dance, then they're like, oh, okay, well, now I get it. But they would still ask me questions anyways, because they just didn't understand. Because for all of them, they're like, well, we started off as dance majors. I'm like, no, this is just for an elective for me.
Yeah.
Not going to turn this into a whole career, but,
I think the culture of sports is very peculiar for each different sport. And the way that we carry ourselves is very interesting. And as you're saying now that it's like, being the new kid or whatever, like me, I was the new kid, not only in the team, nobody had ever seen my face because I immigrated from Mexico. So like to me coming into, the volleyball community, oh my God, it was so tough. It was very tough. Like, I've had like all kinds of things that I've had to deal with, like from being Mexican to begin with, like from being Mexican to being somebody who isn't part of the team in the first place. So it's just, but I think it's a way of having to prove yourself a little harder, and I did kind of enjoy the challenge because I think at some point I proved that I could play, so, and I got in, even though, I was like, at some point I got in, I was there. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much, but it was always with that game face on.
Yeah. That's the thing though. So like when we look at any kind of sport, the glory of the sport, like you watch it on TV and when you talk about things like you're my second athlete on this podcast. So thanks for coming on the show. But the more I talk to other professional athletes, the more we get down to the politics of sport and down to all the other things that is the elephant in the room because it's glorified. You just like, even for me, like watching it on television, it looks so amazing. But then when it comes to competition, when it comes to funding, when it comes to all the things, like even here, you came to Canada, but how would your experience been had you gone to the US? Like it would have been a different experience for you, right? Like, the opportunities are so different when you're looking at it from a professional level, if you've gotten to that point where you're training, right? So it's interesting that you're talking about, just even the fact that we have to bring up that you're from Mexico, not just that you're an athlete and you love the sport. We got to bring that up too, right? So, yeah.
The fact that you're an athlete in another place and that you love the sport, I don't think matters to anybody. Like it doesn't matter to the community until you actually prove yourself. I think that's the thing, right? Like you always have to kind of like prove yourself. And if you are an outsider, you're going to have to prove yourself even more.
But even when you're not an outsider, you're still proving yourself because even now I've played for 4 years and there's still some stuff that I need to learn. And I would benefit from, doing some coaching and some other things, right? Especially in the beach world, because you're always learning with beach volleyball. And like, even for those listening, if you are not at a certain skill level, you can't play at a certain court. That's how cliquey it is. And that's the reality. Like I watch volleyball, I'm very observant and it's fun to go to Woodbine, but it's an interesting place.
It is an interesting place.
Yeah, the courts are set up, but people are like, oh, can I just play on this court? I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. You know what I mean? People think that you can just go down and set up. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, let me explain. There's a whole process.
Yeah, yeah.
There are like time schedules that nobody talks about.
Right. And then like if you're on court number 1 and that is not where you normally set up, we're dealing with a little bit of issues there too. I remember one year, Liz, it was so funny that someone, what happened is one of the guys I know, he came early and he set up. And so he set up close to the bathrooms, right? So the people who normally set up there, they're getting a little annoyed about that because they came later on that day and he was there since 1:30. And that's during the week, right? Most times during the week, people are at work. So he was able to set up. But then we have OVA. We have people who are just playing with their groups, right? So then we don't have that many courts. So that's when the tension happens and people are like trying to see where they can play. So it's like you said, time. Being the early bird at the beach is kind of an important thing. You know what I mean? If you want to get some good games in. I just remember like the one guy in our group, he would be at the beach at like 7:00 in the morning. So just to get a good spot.
I remember when I used to train with my beach partner back in the day when I was competing, we used to get there, I think by 6, because we used to warm up for a very long time, or 6:20 or something like that, because we used to warm up and then start practice right at 7. And we used to do that every day, and our practice would go to like, 9:30. So it was just like, and it was like religiously. And yeah, we used to be close to the bathrooms, but it was like, it was a good experience. I did that for many years, but I think that things have changed now and I'm not around that much anymore. It's just like, meh,
Yeah, you're at a different stage. I think you're there for a season, right? We're all there for a season. Cause I think once I hit like that another box where we're 35 to 40, 40 to 44, things start to change. It depends on your life, right? But, there's one question I do want to ask you. We are all striving to do well, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we lose a game. Sometimes the day that we're playing in the tournament doesn't go like how we had thought it would in our head. So how do you get yourself back up, from that as an athlete?
Honestly, the way I've always dealt with it, like I that's something that I've been always very proud of me, because I'm like, I really want to win. I always played to win. And I would fight. Like I would really, really fight. Like I was always a fighter on the court. But if it didn't go well, like as soon as it was over, I'll like literally just let it roll out of me. And I understand that that's not as easy for other people. For me, luckily, it was like, I don't have any problems letting go of a loss. Like if I lose once, it doesn't mean that I'm going to lose again. And I always had that kind of mindset, it's kind of like, well, I have another opportunity. And I also think that like losses are huge lessons learned. If you are able to take them in as a lesson learned, that you're able to move forward. Otherwise, if you kind of like get crushed by your loss, good luck winning anything, because losses will come. And that's what I tell my son, right? Like it's kind of like, now that I'm teaching my son about what it takes to learn, it takes a lot of losses to learn to win. It takes a lot of failures to learn to do something good. And I don't know, like I honestly, like I feel like in that sense, I'm pretty resilient and I'm happy with that. But yeah, like I think like the major thing, and this kind of mindset is hard to do if you have like a huge ego, So like if you have a huge ego, like you're not going to be able to take it in as a lesson and be like, okay, that's okay. You'll be like, oh my God, how am I losing to this? Like, it's not about them. Like, it's never about them. It's always about you. And it's always about what you can learn, And if you're able to have that humility of losing and that humility of making mistakes and learning from them, then you're able to move forward.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess, it's to be good at anything, right? It's not just being an athlete, but it seems like athletes tend to be entrepreneurs and I haven't spoken to an athlete who isn't one. So it's, I guess it's the training, waking up every morning. You're like, damn, I have to wake up, like you got yourself into the routine. And they say the early bird catches the worm. I'm like, but I'm not a morning person, but you get more done if you wake up early, right? That's the thing.
So much.
So, yeah. So my last question, what advice would you give to any aspiring athlete? Like, if someone's just starting off,
I would say that the most important thing is because, for example, right, like, and I see it with my kid, and I'm going to tell you why I mention my kid all the time, right? Like, when, like, a lot of the kids, when they're studying sport or, they want to do, for example, the hard hit, or they want to do the thing that in their head looks so amazing. But I would recommend that before wanting to do that spectacular movement or a spectacular skill, learn the basics, learn the basics. Try to be in touch with your body. Try to be in touch with your own movement, with your own breathing. Like, open your eyes and absorb from the best athletes, not just from, it's not to put down university players, but like university players is like one thing, but like look at those athletes in the world tour, those athletes who move amazing and that they've already proven that they actually have the skill to be there. And learn from them because they are, they've been there for a long time. They're obviously gifted and they've obviously gotten, their skills up to that level. So, and always have that humility to continue to learn and, move forward. If you don't, and if you, as I said, like before, right, like if you take the losses and like, how is it possible that I am losing? Then you're never going to have the grit to continue to move forward. So, yeah, I'd say like learn the fundamentals with humility and then build upon it.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. I have Liz Salas. Liz, where can we find you? We're all about social media these days. Where are you? Are you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram. It's at Kinetica.org. So I'm on Instagram. We are on Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, follow us.
She's a force to be reckoned with. Thanks so much for being a guest, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Carlene.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Carlene Tonight. We have a special song that we want to play. I think it will resonate with you and many others. I think it's a fun song. If you check out the music video for the song, it's cool. There's puppets and it's a fun song. And the reason I want you to listen to it is because I think the band is awesome. I know them personally. We went to school together. They're altered by mom, and the song is called Outside Lover.
From the other side. Time for talking, baby. Turn up the music loud. I'm seeing something in your eyes that says it's going down. old story, same old trouble with you. Feeling a connection, love is imperfection with you.
We're Altered by Mom.
And this is Carlene Tonight.